Okay, so we're going to be doing a crock pot beef stew, and I want to show y'all a couple of tricks to making one of the most delectable things you'll ever have. But it's so easy and so simple, and even with the cost of beef skyrocketing, I can show you some tricks to really bring the price down and keep it inexpensive. So win-win across the board. Now, we're going to start out by developing our flavor base over here, and then I'm going to talk to you about the beef that we're going to use in it. Now, this is hog jowl. You can use bacon if you want to. Bacon has skyrocketed in the past year or two. So we've really started cutting back, and we're looking at other products that can kind of give us the same flavor, that same depth and richness and smoky goodness, but without spending the money. So I bought this for $1.99 a pound, and all it is bacon made from a different part of the pig, right? So same flavor. Absolutely delicious. So I've got a, what is that, Dutch oven over here. It's on medium heat. And all I'm going to do over here is let that start rendering and get nice and crispy. Now, if you go to the store and buy beef stew meat, the quality is not going to be great. They put that together. I mean, it's smart because they maximize their profit, but you've got bits and pieces from lots of different cuts. And a lot of times, if you really take a look at it, it's got a lot of connective tissue and a lot of fat in it. So a better thing, go to your store and look for, I mean, you can buy a chuck roast if you want to. This is a cut I've been seeing more and more recently, and I think it's available because beef has gotten so expensive. They're looking for ways to continue to make it something that you can buy. This is called a chuck tender, and all this is the leftover tiny piece when they trim up a regular chuck roast. Bring this home, and you notice there's very little fat, but what we do have is a lot of collagen running through here, which means as this stews, it's going to get nice and tender, right? And I stuck this in the freezer for a moment because that makes it much, much easier to cut. Anytime you're dealing with beef or chicken or what have you, and you're going to cut it, throw it in the freezer for a minute. Makes it easier to cut. Now, I want all of my pieces to be roughly the same size. It's not rocket science. I have lots of kids. Some of them are little, so I like my bites a little smaller. It's just easier for them to manage. If you want great big pieces, go ahead. It's your food. Make it the way you want to. So, for just a second or two, I'm just going to trim this up, get it to size, and I'll be back in just a minute, show you what our bacon looks like when it's ready to go, and what our beef looks like when it's ready to go. Alright, so I rendered down the bacon almost all the way, and the best way to do it, this is pretty thickly cut, the best way to do it is start it on medium heat and then turn it way down, thank you. So you're going to render out as much fat as possible. That's hot, you just burned your mouth, didn't you? Yeah, okay. So then I poured off most of the bacon drippings. And we've got maybe a tablespoon left in the pot. This is a trick to beef stew. You don't want to put more than a single thin layer in here at a time. The reason is, you really want to develop the browning on the outside of that beef. So we're going to be doing this in several batches. So, salt. We're going to season lightly, but we're going to season at several stages. And black pepper. This is the part that takes a little bit of patience. And I know lots of recipes are out there to just dump everything in a crock pot and let it go. It's never going to have much depth of flavor if you don't work to maximize each one of your ingredients. I mean, you can do that, and I've done it when I'm in a hurry and I'm tired. I'm with you. I get it. But if you really want something that's got incredible depth of flavor, this is how you do it. So, it's another one of those things. It's going to take a minute. It takes about, I don't know, between 5 and 8 minutes to brown a batch off. And so once one side gets done, I'm just going to flip it all over. Move on to the next batch after I take this out of the pan. And so I guess I'll see you back in about
50 minutes?
Yeah. 50.
30?
Maybe 20. Probably not more than 20.
3 hours?
So we browned off all our beef, right? See? And you know, officially you could eat it now because it's cooked, but it's kind of rare inside, and that's a cheap cut of meat, so it's going to be tough. So you could do like my sister did, come try to steal a piece.
Hey, I'm hungry.
Yeah. But I stopped her because that would be a nice thing to do to somebody. So now we're going to start building our flavors. And we've got onion, carrots, celery, and I don't know, a tablespoon and a half of garlic. That was 5 or 6 cloves. So into the very same pot. This is where we did the bacon. This is where we did the beef. So we're just layering in those flavors. And we only kept about a tablespoon of the grease from the bacon, so not too bad. Tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, right? Really helps develop some rich flavors. Bladen's making I lost Ricky. So now I got Bladen. And Bladen's making flavors. Making faces over the tomato paste. I don't think you realize that's what I put in here. You've eaten it that way your whole life, son. So this just gets stirred around. And I'm going to show you my secret ingredient here in just a second. I'm so bad at secret ingredients since I film it all and put it on YouTube. Great flavor here. Worcestershire sauce. Only about a tablespoon. Very distinct flavor, so if you use too much, you know, it'll kind of be all about the Worcestershire sauce. But a tablespoon, ooh, nice. Really wakes the flavors up. Super yummy. Now, couple things. This, in fancy French, hang on a second. Boys and girls, volume. Hey, that worked. Bouquet garni. All right, so all we have in here is parsley, and I've got 6 or 7 sprigs of fresh thyme, a couple of fresh bay leaves, 100% cotton string. That's butcher's twine, or you can find it in the hardware store. But make sure it's nothing but cotton, because you don't want that in your food if it's got anything but cotton. And right in the pot. And over the top of that, that's not quite 1/3 cup of flour. Seems like a lot of flour. However, pretty big pot. And this is going to be going for a while. Flour achieves its full thickening power when it comes to a full boil. But then the longer you cook it, the less thickening ability it maintains. So if you've ever made a dark roux will not thicken as well as a light roux. And it's just because the longer you cook it, the less it'll thicken. And we do want it to be, we want that nice body that happens. All right, that's all stirred in. And now, back to our pot. We're going to add our beef. And any of the juices that come off, those go right back in the pot too. Everybody's in the pool? Yep. Now, beef broth. And I don't think I have quite enough beef broth. I made beef broth this past weekend. We're right after New Year's, and so I did a beef roast for Christmas. And I took all the bones and the scraps and the trimming and made beef broth. Oh, look. That was perfect. 4 cups of beef broth. There you go. I was going to say you can fortify it with a little bit of water if you have to, but I didn't have to. Yay, I didn't have to. So let's talk about a crock pot for a minute. I have a crock pot behind me, and if you want to, this is the point where you would toss all of this into your crock pot, set it on high for 4 to 6 hours, and there you go. However, this is the original crock pot. The original slow cooker was a Dutch oven. Put a lid on it, and I'm going to throw this into the oven and put it at 325 and let it go for a couple of hours. You can do either one. They both work for a crock pot or slow cooker recipe, okay? The nice thing about a regular crock pot, I would trust it, like if I'm gonna do this in the morning before I leave, I would certainly trust my crock pot to walk away than I would trust leaving my stove or my oven on. But it's whatever way you want to do it. I'm actually not doing it in the crock pot simply because I've got something else I'm going to use that for here in just a few minutes. All right, let me show you all what we look like at this point. All right, so Bladen, you see that? So like I said, I've got a 325 degree oven. I'm going to throw a top on this. It's going to go in the oven for about 2 hours. And when I come, oh! I'm so sorry. That's our bacon. I forgot. I'm so sorry. I just about committed. I just about committed the southern sin. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. We do have a couple more steps after this has gotten that beef and all those veggies to cook through. So a couple hours from now, I'll be back to show you what that looks like. All right, so we've had a couple hours in the oven. And as you can see, it gets nice and hot. So we want a couple things at this point, okay? So I have a can of whole tomatoes, and all I did was, knock off most of the juice, and I stuck them in here and just kind of chop them up. Not much effort whatsoever. That's gonna come in here. And I thought I still had a bunch of Yukon Gold potatoes or red potatoes or what have you, and I didn't. So they're just plain old russet potatoes. You just cut them into cubes about like that. And these come in here as well. My sister and her family are here. So there's a lot going on today, if you can hear it in the background. And that's just Chase, who just is making noise. And then the kitchen is full of other people. Everybody say hi. No.
Hola.
Hola. Alright, so nobody will talk. Alright, so at this point we're simply stirring it in. And this is when we're going to start looking like beef stew. We need to cook those potatoes through though. So we're going to put the lid back on it. It's going to go back in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. Now this is cast iron, so it's very hot and it'll retain and come back to a boil pretty quickly. If you're using a traditional slow cooker, after your 4 hours, throw those potatoes in and give yourself half an hour. What are you doing? Ricky's making faces. Thanks, Ricky. Thanks for distracting me, honey. So, hello. Over here. So anyway, this is going back in the oven. I'm going to give it 20-25 minutes and I'll show you how to finish it off. Alright, so our beef stew had another 25 minutes or so in the oven. And it's ready to finish off. And I've lost my thing. Here it is. Okay. So, this is all you gotta do. You want to pull that bouquet garni out of there. Oh, I was gonna say, if you got lucky, the string held it all together in one bundle, but if you pull one strand out, you'll make a mess. So there's that. You can get rid of that. Looks so nice when it goes in, not so much when it comes out. And then all I have here is, this is kind of funny. Ben loves beef stew, but not the fresh peas at the end, so I'm just going to use a little bit. You can use however much you want, or leave them out altogether. It's your food. You make it your way. Food told me I was allowed to use 1 pinch, which was exactly 3 peas, so I went a little overboard for him. But they really do add something just so nice. And if you have either really fresh peas, which you're only going to have for about 2 weeks in May, or frozen peas, you really don't want to do much more than just let it warm all the way through. Okay? So this is how we're doing our beef stew. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Now, I live in a town so small, it is often hard to find Italian leaf parsley or flat leaf parsley, and often all we have is the curly parsley. The world will not come to an end if you use curly parsley, I promise.
Yes, it will.
No, it won't. Lots of people out there are like, oh my god, you cannot ever use curly parsley. You always have to have your flat leaf. I'm like, you know what? They're wrong. That's right. Kinsley said they're wrong, and she's right. Okay. So that is our made a mess. That's our crock pot beef stew, even though we didn't put this one in a crock pot. I gave you all the instructions on how. Just a minute, baby. She's hungry and she wants to eat, so she's stalking the beef stew. Listen, do me a favor. If I've helped you out at all, Ricky.
Yeah.
Calm down.
I'm calm.
Kinsley, back up. Back up. If I've helped you out at all, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. But more important, hit the subscribe button. It really does make a difference. And you can find me on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Pinterest, and I got a brand new page over at Patreon. If you really want to help, hop on over there and check that out. So, our slow cooker beef stew, and or out of the slow cooker. I'm about to burn my mouth. I don't think I care. I'm pretty good at this.
And now I'm filming.
What am I making? We're making beef stew. That's what we're making. All right, so our beef.
My name is Jack.